Welcome to the 6-8 Culture Podcast, an international community where we share stories of transformation and restoration from the inside out, based on justice, kindness, and humility. Come journey with us. I'm your host, Rob McKinley. Welcome back to the second part of our chat with Manna4Life and Kevin Knight. Last session we left off where Kevin was traveling from Thailand back to Cambodia and had a profound aha moment about community and listening. Join us for part 2 of Manna4Life.
So we ended up with this sea of blue tarps. It looks great. You guys work hard all day, the poor have a new roof and everyone's happy. I had ended up having to go to Thailand for medical reasons, and then I came back the next week. And I knew a few tarps would be gone. But when I came back to the community, 80% of the tarps were gone. I knew there'd be a few gone, but 80%. And what it was I went against everything that you should go against. I never asked the community what their greatest need was. I never involved them in the process of, is this the best way about going about? I just did not involve the community. I thought I knew an answer and I could fix it with some resources. It was all me, right? And I got everybody together. We all came out, and what it was with not asking the community, they had greater needs that day.
Yeah.
You know, rainy season was still, even though it had rained to make this happen, rainy season was another month away. They needed rice today, you know? So food or whatever they needed something different. They had sold those tarp for their daily needs. So I would have been better off using the resources in another way.
Wow.
So then it was right back to square one. And what it was the teachings that I had and participatory development and all of those things. We started following those guidelines a lot better. And then things really started to flourish because they had input into their own community being rebuilt.
What a profound lesson.
So I'm glad it happened at the very start before a lot of resources were used. But I think a lot of people can learn that from others like myself who have made those mistakes, not to go down the same road. But I have a tendency to see over and over and over again that we just throw money at things. You know, if money was the only thing that was needed, billions of dollars have been thrown at poverty. It's relationship we need with the poor and understand them better. And it needs to get to a point where we don't say the poor as a generic bunch of people, but we actually know them by name.
Yeah.
I think it's, so you say you love the poor, then tell me their names, you know? So, and a lot of times we don't know that at all.
Thanks for sharing that. Kevin, can you take a moment to share about your experience and understanding of what mission is and how that's played out with Manna4Life?
Yeah, one of the problems I see is when we coming as mission groups and everything else, I think there needs to be an interaction between the poor and our life and, you know, in the West. In order for that to happen, I think we have to come in a different mindset than we do now. A lot of times we come with our same t-shirts, we come with resources, we want to do something, we want to solve a problem. But the best thing we can do is just come in the learning mode. Let's just learn about the situation.
Right.
Let's learn about the people. Let's get to know the people that are there. Like we bring people from a church in New Zealand to come and stay with us. It's only groups of 4 or 5 people, but they stay for a couple of weeks with a host family in our community and get to know those families. We don't interact with them a lot. Once a day we get together and how's your day and everything else. But the rest of the time they're just with the families and get to know them. Talk about groundbreaking. That's an experience that none of them forget, and it changes their lives, you know, and it changes the lives of the poor at the same time, that they're loved by people. People do care around the world. They're not forgotten. They can laugh about the same situations. Even though they speak a different language, there's ways to communicate it. They're just amazing. So there's other ways to come on a mission team. Forget about the doing. Come as a learner.
That's great. Great advice.
In order to love your neighbor, you need to know them, right?
What about the kindness part? Can you share with us a little bit about some lessons you've learned about kindness or mercy?
Well, I need to actually talk about the poor when I answer this question, because The greatest kindness that I've seen in a lot of situations is from the poor. Like in my addiction in the downtown east side,
Hmm.
I've seen people take the coat off their back in the pouring rain in Vancouver to give it to someone else that's freezing and cold, another addict on the street. And then they're standing there getting soaked themselves in a t-shirt.
Wow.
Like
Yeah.
talk about kindness, like
Yeah.
giving the shirt off your back. Well, that's giving your jacket in the middle of the cold and not knowing if they would be able to get another jacket. It'd be
Yeah.
different even if you and I gave it a jacket and we went down the store and bought another one or took them to the store to buy one. That's different than actually giving the last of what you have to someone, that generosity, right?
Yeah. Giving
That
out of our
kind.
surplus is certainly a very different thing.
It certainly is. Then I can take it halfway around the world here to Cambodia, and I can say I've seen the same thing many times where people have given the last of their rice to another family, not knowing when they're going to have rice again.
Wow.
There is a total difference in generosity and kindness there that we need to learn.
Yeah.
We can give a lot out of our excess and feel that we've done a good job, but I'm sorry, it's like the woman with the two mites, right? She
Yeah.
gave it all, and I think we hold on to far too much. Things that are really unnecessary that we really need that? Well, one of the beautiful things I was able to do was the generosity of others, giving clothes in Union Gospel Mission. And I still had a lot of clothes from my days of having a lot of money. But I lined up all my clothes in my room and I let them sit out there on the floor. Here's this leather jacket and these things. And I'm thinking of the cost of what all of these were, right? The cost wasn't the physical cost of the money we spend. It was that we chose to spend time, right? If that jacket
Right.
cost $500, we took our time to work and make that money to be able to buy that. Now, do I really need a leather jacket if I have 4 other black leather jackets that look the same? I could still have a leather jacket, but all that time that I've traded for things of this world could be better spent engaging with people and doing something to change the brokenness of this world as it is today.
Is it more apparent just because of the lack of resources in impoverished communities? Or is kindness more pronounced and practiced because people understand the other person doesn't have those things? And kindness really makes the world go around in a way of reciprocity.
I would definitely say the second one more. The reason is they understand. They've all been in that situation before.
Yeah.
They've been down to their last bowl of rice or no rice at all, and someone else has helped them. When I lived in North Vancouver before, I lived up Indian Arm. When I lived up Indian Arm, it was a 10-minute boat ride to the house. The community, Brighton Beach, they called it. They all helped each other. Everybody's boat broke down at one time. Everybody's roof leaked. Everybody's thing. So one guy has tar, one guy has this. So there was this generosity, but that was because it was a community. They had this common thing together. And this is what we have to do. We have to build this community in the world today. And what we do is we do the exact opposite. We build gated communities so to keep people out.
Yeah.
We need to open that up. We need to have real community. And if you want to engage with the poor, it doesn't really take that much, We find ways to isolate and to compartmentalize ourselves. And, I'm with this group, you're with that group, I'm over here. And no, you don't even work together. And that's even Christian communities here. You see it all the time. They're just not working together, even doing the same thing for the same community. And they're getting double what another community doesn't get because they just don't work together.
That's right.
As a young Christian, when I came here, and I'm still a young Christian, that was one of the hardest things for me to see was the amount of groups that weren't working together.
Yeah.
You know?
Which creates redundancy and duplicity. And I think you really hit the nail on the head, because now more than ever with COVID, we are even more isolated and we use technology to try to keep an interconnectedness, but it's also breeding a sense of tribalism in the way that things are becoming more and more delineated, more and more political, and people are losing friendships as a result of it. And that was really the impetus behind creating this 6-8 Culture podcast, because we are all capable, regardless of our worldview, to be able to walk in the ways of justice, of kindness, and in humility. And if we can do that from the beginning, right from the inside out, it just will have a contagious effect on everybody else. But we really need to make sure that we can make our own bed before we can go out and change the world. And it has to be done in a small, organic way. And that's really what I've been hearing from the story that you're sharing and you've shared with us today, that what Manna4Life has been doing. And you've really imparted a lot of things to think about, to meditate on, and to be inspired with, to go forth and do as such. So thanks again, Kevin, for sharing your story, the powerful testimony of saying yes and having the humility to go from being on your knees on the downtown east side in Vancouver to this incredible journey to meet such an amazing person in your wife, Leakhena, and now you have a family together, and the story continues to be written. So I want to just turn the corner a little bit here, Kevin, and just ask you, I know things have changed a little bit at Manna4Life, and what may be your greatest challenges right now, and what the greatest need might be, and how people can support the work that you and your lovely wife are doing and others, and how we can best come alongside you.
Prayer, obviously.
Yeah.
We recognize that we cannot do this alone. We need a community of others to be able to help. We are connected to the church body. We notice when their prayer support is low, put it that way. We notice it spiritually where things are getting into tight and tough situations. And we also notice when we seek out that prayer, the difference it makes. So that's always first and foremost in any kind of request or need. We need to be connected. The experience of interacting with the poor has to be done in a different way than it is today. Right?
Yeah.
So we try to do our best that way. So we would like others to really think about what they're contributing and what they're getting out of the experiences that they call in so-called mission teams. It's really coming as a learning experience, right? If we go into it as a learning experience and not this mission trip and all wearing the same T-shirt, we have more resources in our pockets when we go on those trips than they'll ever have in their life in some cases, you know, with their laptops and our iPods and iPads and iPhones, you know. It's really being present in those moments and just come to learn who the poor are. And what they are is they're just people like ourselves who have gone through some very traumatic situations and in some cases have lost hope. And a lot of times they feel like we're carriers of that hope for them until they can grab onto it themselves. So what we've done is we've set up an education fund for the students. So there are resources there available to them, selling off some of the land that we have. So we need prayer around selling that land off because there's some resources there that can be put into the education fund also. We'll still need sponsorship per se, but it'll be done a little differently than normal sponsorship. It won't be like a one-on-one sponsorship. You'll be contributing to the education fund. We'll be transforming the ministry more into discipleship program, setting up a dorm ministry here in the city. They'll be coming from out of the city and into the city, and they need a safe environment to be able to do those studies. So we can provide that for them. So we'll be building a dorm in the near future. So we have about a 3-year window here before we have a lot of kids that are in the grade 9 area. So in 3 years, they'll be going to university. So we have this kind of window now that we're hoping to be set up for them by the time they get there. We have a few kids that are in university now. It's just that schools have been closed until just last week because of COVID. So things are kind of a mess at the moment when it comes to that.
That's good to know. So we've heard some incredible stories of justice. We've heard some stories of mercy and kindness. And I have one thing left to ask you. I've seen your passion and the work that you do firsthand. And I know that you'll never say it, but I can attest that you're one of the most humble people that I know. Can you share with us some of your checks and balances in keeping yourself humble in the part that you're playing in this overall grand narrative?
I find it very easy. And when I say that, it's not that I don't have those checks and balances there. One of them is we never accept a thank you. Don't get me wrong. If someone says thank you, it's not like you just say, no, you can't say that. You know, it's not like that. What it is we always redirect them to God or Jesus has provided that, not me. We started that out by originally having a committee of 10 people, 5 men and 5 women for gender equality within the community to make the decisions in the community. So I'm not the white guy coming in with the money. They're responsible for doing it themselves, right?
That's great.
So they're the ones running it. I work alongside them. So that's one way. When people do say, you know, you could take a kid to the hospital or do something and people want to say thank you, but we've redirected them so often, they know we don't accept a thank you. So they know it now. And it's really funny but good at one time. It's like they'll catch themselves. They'll go, akun means thank you, right? They'll go, akun lek, my wife's name is Leakhena. They'll go like, akun lek, oh no, ate, which means no. Akun pregi su. So it's thank you, Jesus.
That's awesome, Kevin.
Yeah, so to take it away from yourselves You get enough thank yous in a day, right? It's like you can get pretty uppity about yourself that you're just this amazing person. And really, I recognize my own brokenness. I know the depths of where I came from, but it doesn't mean that we're never there until we're home, right? So
that's right. At the end of the day, we're all ragamuffins, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly. What keeps me humble is recognizing how much the poor have taught me about who I am and who I'm not. They don't do it by trying to actually do that. They're just living their lives as they do. There's a few situations that come to mind. One family, Kakada is a young girl's name. Kakada prayed for 2 years for a house for themselves, her mom and her.
Wow.
They just had sticks and tarps, really ragged house. We did end up building 130 homes in the community, and theirs was one. We went around just to see how they were doing, and we lived right in the community. So when I say went around, we went down the street, right? But, we were visiting one day, and we walked around, and we just asked what was going on and everything else. And we said, can we pray for you? And so we prayed for her and her family. And then she turned around and says, can I pray for you? And she was only like 7, 8 years old at the time, right? Yeah. She just prayed up a storm. And I was just in tears. It's like, here we are thinking that we're doing all this, right? That's when she shared about she'd been praying for 2 years for the home, and now they had the home. So just faithfulness and prayer they taught me about. That's like great. I've prayed for 2 years about something over a time period, but not every single day.
Yeah, that's,
you know what I mean?
That's just incredible. Well, there we go with the humility, right? That's from a 7-year-old girl. That's beautiful. Beautiful way to end this, Kevin. And I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to share with us some stories of justice and of mercy and of humility that will inspire and leave us all a little bit more changed in that direction. And if anybody needs to contact you and find out more about the work for Manna4Life, can you provide the website information?
Yeah, that would be Manna4Life with the number 4, Manna4LifeCambodia.org. There's one Martin Luther King quote that I really like. It's not one of his most well-known ones. Maybe it would help at least people that have experienced winter. It said, there comes a time when people get tired of being pushed out of the glittering sunlight of life's July and left standing amid the piercing chill of an alpine November. We're to be here to live life to the fullest in Jesus. My beautiful daughter just joined me here.
I hear Baraka.
Yeah, in the background. But that's another beautiful gift that I have from God that I never thought I would have in the depths of my addiction, So he does replace what the enemy stolen and a lot more. One of the things is it's quite easy for me to be able to stick with a lot of people that maybe others would give up on.
Yeah.
And it's because he never gave up on me.
Wow. A special thanks to our guest, Kevin Knight. To hear more about Manna4Life, support, or contact them, visit Manna4LifeCambodia.org. That's Manna, the number 4, Life, Cambodia.org. Thanks for sharing your time with the 6-8 Culture podcast, where we share stories of personal transformation that are making our world a more just, kind, and humble place. Join us for our next session of impacting stories in 6-8 Culture. This is Rob McKinley signing out with a reminder for us all to act justly, to be kind, and to walk humbly.